December 2020 greetings. It's Gina and welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on my December daily for days 2 and 3. The story is all about our Christmas trees. I have 2, so day 2 is for our family room Christmas tree. I'm telling a story, and day 3 is our sentimental tree that we put up. And so here I have taken this sweet little sequence that comes in the Coco kit, and it's a red, white, and blue, which happen to be the colors of my family room tree. And I've taken them and strung them on a piece of bookmaking string. It's a little bit waxy, so it went really nicely through those little sequins, and I just strung them. And I want to, my idea is to just sort of put them up onto this tree and be sort of an accent to this sweet little 3x8 card that also came in the Coco kit. This family room tree, the story is that my son, when asked, what do you think of my tree this year? Because I change it up every year, he said, Mom, it always looks like a mall tree. And so we had a good laugh about that and decided that from now on, our family room tree would be Mom's mall tree. So pretty funny little story that I just love. So I'm using these little mini glue dots that are such game changers when you're adding something. And these little glue dots, I just put a nice line down. And so then what that did is help the sequence to sort of stay in place. I will have this in a little pocket page, a 3x8 pocket page. So it will go in between day 2 and day 3, the 6x8 full shots of my tree. So I really like the way this sweet little sequence string is accenting this tree. And the other side has a printed plaid that I'll show you in a little while, but right now I'm going to go ahead and cut both of my 6x8 photos that I printed at home. And I also fixed these up in Photoshop and put the little label. The label you see there says the Mall Tree 2020, and it is done via a little Felicity Jane digital stamp label that I have. I love those. I love creating in Photoshop with templates and digital kits. So the other tree there that you see is our traditional tree with most often stays with all of the reds and the greens that match our stockings. And I just love the little feel of the tradition that we have. And I have 2 little stools there that were my kids when they were just tinies. So I go ahead and decide I want to embellish these 2 photos a little more with some dimension. So I have these 2 little words that came in the Stories by the Month kit from Layle Edwards, and I love them. They're a thin wood painted white, and I love the way they just add a little dimension to these photos. So I'm going to go ahead and go straight on down with some mini glue dots to adhere those to the photo directly, and they will go inside the page protector, the 6x8 page protector. But they do add some great dimension. Oh, I just love the way those look. These reverse tweezers are really great for adhering tiny little things and also helping you to have a better eye for positioning. So I just pop those right on down. I go ahead and put these inside the 6x8 pocket protectors, and as you can see, the holes will be in the middle, and then what will go in the center is a filler with the story. So that one will face day 2. When you flip it, day 3 will go there with that awesome plaid that's on the back side of that Christmas tree from Felicity Jane. So I'm setting myself up here to add to my stories. I did these in Photoshop with a 3x8 template from Layle Edwards. I believe it was from a day in the week project. and it's a template set that I absolutely love. So I can just go in there and add my text, and she has those little date boxes already set up. You just can go and modify them. And I went ahead and put in my day 2 and 3. And then you can see these two, obviously, days are tying together. So that was sort of my intent. And I used the Felicity Jane roller stamp to stamp December 2nd on day 2 and December 3rd on day 3, even though we know we fudge a little with our dates. But it really doesn't matter in the long run because these are my 2 stories for these 2 days. So I'm taking the Coco kit that comes in the Coco collection, and I just can't get enough of it. I love using these. There's a lot of sentiment stamps. There is this particular little house that's a little block house with some trees. And I'm using my stamp positioner to kind of line up all these stamps. Now that little stamp block I have there is a very thin stamp block that came in a set I ordered. I believe it's Tim Holtz. And they are pretty amazing because I like to use them for this lining up. Those little squares help me to sort of see, kind of like how you would use them for sewing. I like using that grid there to help line up. So I've lined up one of the lines with the top of the number box. And my idea is I'm going to stamp something underneath that house. You'll see me do that and not like it, and then I change it up and fix my mistake. That's what's so great. You don't have to worry about mistakes. You can always be creative and come up with a different plan. So I'm taking my Memento black ink and going ahead and stamping up what I have created here. And the great thing about a stamp positioner is that if you need to go back in and it doesn't stamp quite right the first time, you can just go right back in and make it darker. So the little sentiment stamp says merry and bright, and I'm happy with the little scene that I have there. And when I am in the middle of a project, I'm trying to be really good at cleaning my stamps in between. I do set them to the side and then put them all away later, but it makes for getting through a big mess. So I pull out this sweet little stamp that actually says, I think it says my traditions. I end up covering it up because Christmas traditions, I think it says, and it doesn't stamp real well. I got a little bold and decided to just go down and stamp that out, and then it got a little smudgy. So there's several ways I could fix it, but you'll see how I end up changing my mind. But I do think it's important to look and see that you can walk through a process, and if you make a mistake, it's all right. I think it says here's the story, actually, which I love, the tiny, delicate letters it makes. So I just set that aside, and you'll see me fix that up a little later. Now working on day 3, I'm going to keep this one really simple. I put the sentiment holiday traditions above that little tree. And then I am going to be going and stitching under those sentiments and around the border of my 3x8 story cards. But I do like the simplicity of the black and white. And then I'm gonna go ahead and enhance it a little bit with some ribbon and stitching. I believe this little gingham ribbon did come in my bits and pieces for the Felicity Jane Coco kit. And I'm just gonna adhere that or wrap it around the side because no one's gonna see the back of that. And then I'm trying to problem solve that little stamp that I, again, don't really love. It would have been okay, but I decide, let's see what I can do with adding some ribbon to this little card. Love this little sweet bow and decide I definitely want to use that on one or the other. This beautiful ribbon is, you can't tell in the film, but it's a velvety black ribbon. Oh, it's just so pretty and soft. And guess what? I cover that up because I like this better. And I fiddle with that bow and definitely decide I like the contrast of the dots and the little plaid, checkered plaid. So I've already, if you can see, I've already stitched around that. I took a break and went to my sewing machine, and now I'm going to pull out some more of those sequence stars and add some color, just very slight, to the black and white day 2 card using mini dots, mini glue dots. Using these tweezers, I really, if you don't have these, I feel like you would love having them in your toolbox. I have learned that those little groups of 3, while I probably don't do it the correct way, I want to add just another one that is white, or the clear, the little red, white, and blue. So I add those around the 2 and then add a couple more little stars above the little trees. And I'm liking the way it looks. So sweet. Kind of walking through the process just is so soothing. All right, so I'm really happy with the one for day 2, and I decided to keep day 3 very simple and just add that little polka dotted bow in a little bit. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and grab that tree and take my Sharpie pen and just make a nice simple border around the 3x8 card. Then I'm gonna go ahead and, I know I'm gonna have to add something to the top of the tree. I did not want to take away from the sequence, so I stick with the black and white theme and pull out this tiny little star from last year's Felicity Jane Christmas kit. And I use a little dimensional dot to add that, to add dimension. And I just snip that little string, and then I have this idea that I want to add something to the bottom of the tree. And to tie in the color of the stars, I go ahead and grab this stamp. It says Holiday, and it's from an Allie Edwards Christmas stamp set, and it fits real nice right there. So I decide I want to try a kind of a multicolored technique. So I grab my Brilliance white pigment ink, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of lightly tap down onto the center. So I kind of think this is going to be really cool. It's going to look like one of those popsicles, the little red, white, and blue popsicles that you get in the summertime. I'm using some very old Stampin' Up ink pads from my collection, taken with teal and real red, I think. I'm not sure if those are what they call them today, but I like the colors, and do a practice stamp there to see if this is a go or not. I'm just going to add a little more ink to that and stamp it again. And I love the way that turned out. Doesn't it look like one of those little popsicles that you have in the summer? So I'm going to go ahead and ink up again and make sure that it's nice and juicy. So I go down with it, and I hope it comes up good, and I'm very happy with how it turns out. It does smudge a little bit, and I should have let it dry a little bit better, but for now I like the way that is looking. And that sweet little bow, I just, again, to the rescue, mini glue dots. This is definitely a mini glue dot layout. So then the back side of this plaid I need to address, and I have decided I added color to the other side, so I thought this will be facing or lay out with the green and the red. So I pull out these sweet pockets from the Felicity Jane kit, but they're a little too wide. I'm going to use them definitely in another spread, but I set those aside and pull out some of these. Actually, I'll put down below where I got these, but I believe I got these from Layle by Mail in her Christmas kit and really love them. They're like little metal, I don't really know what you call them, but they're sticker on the back. So I set those aside because I'm not certain what I want to do with that plaid, and I want to see it laid out next to that white. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 3x8 story cards inside their pocket page protector. This reminds me of putting on some very tight jeans. You have to shimmy yourself down into them. So they end up going down nicely though. Snug as a bug. I see a little sequin star at the bottom, so I take a paintbrush and I think, how did you get in there? And then I decide, you can stay. I'm just going to swish you around and let you just be at the bottom of my journaling. So this now will be sort of what it looks like when it's laid out. So I know that color, I don't want it to be too overpowering because that's a busy print. So I grabbed that sweet little red metal sticker. They're really cool because they have some dimension to them. And that one says December Merry. And then I add this little green one that says Merry and Bright. Clearly the theme to go with my trees this year. And another little green simple one, just in a little group of 3. And then I decide it does need something. Maybe another stamp. I pull out my Tim Holtz stickers and I find the word memories. I think that'll be perfect for our sentimental memory tree. And I go ahead and I stick that down. And I think over what else could I add to this, but then I think I just really do want it to be simple. So I'm going to go ahead and just stick that in, careful not to mess up my sequence. And I think I am getting to the end where now I am happy. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.